All right, so we are joined all the way from Macon, Georgia, by my friend Bennie Plummer, the founder and owner of Major Results Drug Testing there in Macon. One of the most interesting concepts we've had in this class, and a market that I did not know existed. We've got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson High School. This is for our entrepreneurship class, and we're recording this for our friends at Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us. And like you just said before we started recording, you kind of got into this by accident. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background before you became the owner, and how that led to founding this great company?
All right. Well, thank you for finding my company and myself, and I'm honored to be here to talk with you and the high school students. And again, yes, I graduated from Dublin. I'm from Dublin, Georgia, and I graduated from West Lawrence High School in 2004. And I didn't have a direct path of what I wanted to do. So I started working in a hotel called the Holiday Inn Express in Dublin. And I wanted to eventually do a little bit more than just work the front desk. And so fast forward, that brought me into the Marriott field. I worked my way from front desk up to general manager and director of sales. And so that was my background as far as professionally. And I was at my last hotel, Fairfield by Marriott, back in 2020, just before COVID. I was sitting in my office one day and there was a Quest Diagnostics box that was over in the corner. And I asked my maintenance guy, what do we supposed to do with this box? And he said, you're supposed to drug test employees when you hire them. And I said, well, the higher ups didn't tell me that exactly. So this is new for me. Wow. And so I eventually talked with my directors and they said, yeah, we're going to start back doing the drug screens on site when you hire the employees. I said, okay. So fast forward from that, when the pandemic happened, we were put out of work, and in the middle of the night, literally, believe it or not, at 3 a.m., God woke me up and he said, think back to that box in your office.
Wow.
Drug testing. And I said, well, if I could do the drug test without getting a certification, there must be a way I can get certified and do this on my own. So I was certified through the National Drug and Alcohol Association. It was a one-day training, 4 hours online. Wow. At the end of that call, she said, you can start your own business with this certification. And I was like, well, okay. So I started marketing on Facebook. I just said, I can do drug testing. I didn't have a name yet. I just said I could do drug testing. There was a girl on my page. Her brother started a staffing agency and they needed someone to come in and do drug screenings.
Wow.
That was my first client. So I got my first client within a week or two after I got certified. And the certification was only $300. It didn't require you to have any sort of background. You just, pay for the class, you get certified, and then you can just take off from there. So that's the background of how I got started in the drug testing. And I'm going to wait for your question so I don't go further.
Oh, no, that's great. I mean, because it's crazy how a lot of times people have the hurdle of starting a business. They're like, well, I can't afford to go to school. I can't afford the certification. But literally the fact that you got this in one day for $300 was all your startup costs is incredible, just to get certified. Now, and obviously fast forward now, you're running a pretty well-oiled machine there in Georgia. But we were kind of wondering, what all does a mobile drug testing company do? Because we know about, like you said, some corporations want to drug test employees, but you mentioned on your website you deal with you deal with corrections, you deal with Department of Transportation. So exactly how does it all work? Because it's really interesting.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, Google. I give a lot to Google. I listed my company on Google, and a lot of companies, believe it or not, they love the on-site 24-hour, 7-day-a-week availability, because my biggest competitor is about a block away and they don't offer on-site services. And that's what my clients have told me. So I had about 2 or 3 employers tell me that. And when I realized the money that you can earn just showing up on the site, I said, oh, I've got to maximize on this. So I was able to go to probation offices, do the test right there, so they don't have to worry about the probationee leaving and being able to cheat the test. A lot of clients find me just off of the organizations that I'm in, like the chamber, They find me listed on the Indaza website, but mostly it was a lot of door-to-door sales, but I had that background. So I knew that, you make up your nice little treat bags, have your price, research your area, see what your competitor prices are, and just go out. And all I simply do is just go in and I introduce myself. I give a quick 15-second elevator pitch, and they're either going to say, yeah, we will use you, or no. Now, for example, at 5:30 in the morning, I am going to Advanced Disposal in Macon doing some drug tests. And I was like, 5:30 in the morning, that's really early. But they start their shifts at 6:30. So they want to go ahead and have them randomly tested. And how they found me was just on Google. And they want me to continue to do business with them. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and that's cool that you mentioned that, because one thing we talk about in this class is something called perceived value. So,
Mhm.
and you talked about your competitor there in Macon is right down the street, but if you can offer something more, people will pay more, and that gives you the opportunity to charge more. Because one thing I always say, if people will pay for it, you need to charge it. If people will buy it, you need to sell it. And giving somebody that convenience of saying, "Hey, look, I offer the same thing they do, but I'll come to you." You could probably charge double, and people will pay it.
Exactly. And then I look at reviews. It's very important to look at reviews of your competitors, because they're going to tell you what's wrong. And I look at the wait times. They complain about the wait times, and they complain about, again, they open at 7:30, but they need their employees tested at 5:30. So to be able to say, all right, well, we can be there for you, or, we see that you have a long wait time over here, so let's guarantee a little to no wait time over here. So like you said, there's room for everyone to win.
Now, how big is your staff? Because obviously this seems like this would be impossible for just one person to do.
Oh, so in our Macon location, we have a strong team of 5. Then I have collectors in other locations that I can call on to go take care of collections for me. For example, in New Jersey, Washington, New Jersey, next Tuesday, we have to have someone go to base of there to do 7 drug screenings. So I was excited about going myself. That's just how excited I am about my brand. But I have to be here to do some other stuff. So what I did was I went into my group of people that I certified, because I'm also an instructor. So I
Okay.
certify people to do these tests. So I go in my group and I say, hey, do I have any students that is in Washington, New Jersey, or near the Washington, New Jersey area? And someone responded right away. We jump online like you and I are. We go over some little trainings to make sure that they know what they're doing and they understand it. And they go out, they do the job. I send out the invoice, I pay them, and we're all happy. So
That's really cool. Now, one thing that I've noticed about a lot of these entrepreneurs we've had in our class is that most of them at least keep a part-time job as a day job. So did you ever completely step away from the hotel, or is that something you held on to just to get the benefits for your family, or some type of steady income, or have you completely broken away from that?
I have completely broken away.
Wow.
And that's what I tell a lot of people, entrepreneurs. A lot of times you're pushed into it. I can tell you a lot of great things about my Marriott journey, but I can also tell you a lot of times I was terminated and didn't see it coming, because they sometimes wanted something different. Sometimes it could have been me, and there were times when it was just simply they just wanted something different. But I was tired of being told I can't go to my child's baseball game. I can't go to this. I can't go to that because of work. So my prayer to God was, how can I run a successful brand and also have the work-life balance? And it's been working out pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. That's the cool thing about being an entrepreneur is you do set your own hours. You do get everything stops and ends with you, or begins and ends with you, because you get to determine when you're going to be there. But at the same time, you have to have the initiative to make up for that time that you aren't there. So it takes a lot of organization. Like you
Yeah,
said, you're going to be there at 5:30 in the morning. That's really early, but that also frees up the rest of your afternoon if you wanted to fit in another client or do something with your family.
exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. So to answer your question, no, I don't, this is all that I do. This is all that I do. I may go back one day, because I love the discounts with Marriott and the benefits were great. But until Major Results is running on its own, I'm going to be stuck to that. Yeah.
Now, and I'm not 100% sure how your certification works, but it's just something you can only do in the state of Georgia,
Oh
or
no,
so
no,
certification would be good for anywhere.
anywhere nationwide. Again, I certify, I advertise a lot on my Facebook page as well, TikTok, about my certifications.
Wow.
And I offer them online as well as in person. And I have had students, the furthest student I've ever had to come to me was in Mississippi.
That's where
Actually,
we
yeah,
are.
where you all, yeah. They actually, the company over there was called Cherokee Brickyard, Cherokee Brick. I don't know if you've
We
heard
know
of
about
that.
Cherokee Brick. Yeah. Yeah,
Really?
they have all the contracts right down the road.
Their home office is in Macon, and that's where I
Yep.
started, and it just spread it there. And I had some students in Mississippi that I would send there to do drug testing at the Brickyard, but the HR manager from the Brickyard came here about a month ago, and I certified him so he can do his own in-house drug screenings.
Well, now that's another question I was going to ask, because obviously, if a company says, "Look, will you certify us so we can do it on our own?" Will that lose business for you long term, or is that cost?
It
Is that cost
yeah,
enough to be able to offset that?
Yeah, it will cost business for me because they will be doing the drug testing themselves, of course. But where I still can capitalize off of it, especially if they have DOT workers, I still can do their physicals. I can do their hearing impairments, all that stuff that they can't do for as drug testing, and also breath and alcohol testing. A lot of employers don't do that; they'll still have to send you out. So I can definitely still be able to maximize off of it. But with this particular client, they were already with my competitor, and they explained to me that they didn't look to move to anyone else, but they did need me on the weekends, after hours, and holidays. So I really wasn't getting much business volume from them anyway, but anything is better than nothing.
Yeah, and that also, and that could also be a great referral, um,
Yeah.
uh, for any type of colleague in there. Now the other thing I was curious about is, you talk about you did talk about the availability, because yeah, you do set your own hours, but is that tough to be available on weekends and on holidays when, like you said, you do have a family?
Well, and I'm sorry to rephrase your question. You're asking me how I'm able to be with my family and
Yeah,
okay, availability.
yeah.
All right. So my 24-hour, 7-day a week, we're in the office until about 6:30. So anytime after that, it has to be appointment only.
Okay.
So and I have some clients like Schneider, for example, they're a new client for me, and they specifically want their drivers tested between 4 and 8 p.m., which was different. I never heard of that, but it's okay. So I explained to them that we're there until 6, but if someone needs a test at 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, just call my phone. We'll have somebody out there, or just when you make an appointment, we'll see it pop up and someone is actually there. Because we're located downtown, and the doors are gonna lock on the outside at 5:30. So they're gonna have to call us anyway to come down and let them in. So it's just best to make an appointment.
Yeah. Now, here's something that I'm also very curious about, because we have a lot of kids that say they want to get into the transportation industry. So can you talk a little bit about, obviously with companies it's different with a private company, but with the Department of Transportation, that's something federal. So
Right.
they're going to require certain screenings for every driver to have a CDL in the United States. So what are so how often are the screenings, and what are the screenings looking for? Because I have kids that are 16, 17 years old that tell me they want to get in the transportation industry. And I'm like, dude, you're getting high every week. There's no way you'd be able to pass a drug test. So,
Mhm.
and I got a lot of laughs out of that in the room, but I'm being dead serious. It is something that people need to be aware of, that there are companies out there like yours, and they're going to test them if they want to be in any type of pilot, train, trucks, any of that stuff.
Absolutely. So with the Department of Transportation, they're always wanting to run a 5 panel. You have 5, 10, 11, 12. I mean, they go up to 18, but the most common one for DOT will be the 5 panel. And so whenever you're hired with a trucking company, we're in charge of their drug testing pool. So we randomly pull their names and we say, hey, we need so and so to pull in for a drug screening. If he's locally, he comes into the office. If not, wherever he is, we'll find him a location to go into, and he has a deadline to do it. If he refuses or she refuses, then they will actually either terminate them or they will report them in clearinghouse as in not having, refusing a drug screening or failing a drug screening. And they put them through a STAT program where they have to go through classes and they come back to what they call a return to duty test. And we have to observe them to make sure that they are good to go. So, they say they do randoms quarterly, but I have definitely seen trucking industries that will perform randoms weekly or once a month. So it can be.
The quarterly is just the minimum required by the government.
Yes.
Because obviously with the DOT, they supervise all the CDLs in the country, and to have one valid in the United States, you do have to submit those at least quarterly from whoever you're driving for. And even if you're, and people say, well, I'll be an owner operator, you still have to have some sort of drug test on file with the Department of Transportation.
Exactly.
So I think that's very important because, we have a lot of kids in this community that want to get into the transportation industry, and we encourage that because it's a great field, and can be a very lucrative field, but it is probably the most drug tested profession on the planet.
Exactly. And they just approved, well, as of June 1st, DOT has approved the oral testing. So if we ever have drivers that come in, they're like, I can't go, to the restroom, then we can actually do this swab on them. Hey. Yes, ma'am.
Now, before I get to the students' questions, I just have one more. And we had we were kind of talking before you came on about what type of instruments and stuff do you use? Are you dealing with blood? What type of bodily fluids are you dealing with? And are you is it like a medical thing, or we were just kind of curious about the whole process.
Okay, so the reason why I love the industry again is because there's no upfront cost. And you may say, what? Because when we partner with our labs, as in LabCorp, Quest Diagnostic, they will send us our shipment of DOT cups and non-DOT.
Wow.
The only difference is one has 2 tubes because DOT wants 2 samples and the non-DOTs have 1 tube. But they send us our custody control forms and they don't bill you until you send in the specimen. So let's just say if I send in 5 specimens and I have to pay them $100 to read them. Well, I've billed my client maybe $250, $300. And per test, it just depends. If it's observed, the prices can go high. So I look at it like if I have to pay the lab $20 to read my test, then my price has to be, at minimum 100, because I know I'm gonna only see 80. But a lot of the on-sites, they will ask you to, like I said in the beginning, go on to the location to do the drug test, and we charge $300, sometimes more. That's just on the low end to show up, but it depends where you're going. I had a location a week ago where they wanted me to do drug testing 2 different days at the same plant. So I literally made over $600 just showing up. Now let's just say if the drug screenings that I had to do, let's just say if everybody just said, forget it, I'm not doing the test, I still made money just showing up.
Wow.
So I tell a lot of students, especially the ones I train, you don't have to go into entrepreneurship, but I want you to look at something. When LabCorp sends you out on the scene, or if I send you out, we're making sometimes almost $1,000 or more, especially on post accidents. But we're gonna have you out there making $25, and you're on the scene maybe 2 hours. So you made $50 plus mileage. But if you own the company, you can make, close to 1,000 or more, over 1,000, just like that. And you're in and out in no time.
And that's with very little startup costs, like you said. That's incredible.
Yeah. So I think that has helped me be successful as I have, because it wasn't much upfront cost. So in turn, that's why I didn't have to really hold down another job to sustain. So
that's incredible. Well, I do have some questions from the students, and these are all seniors. I'm all getting ready to graduate. This person is Justin Clerk, and he asked, what are some advantages and disadvantages of having a mobile business?
The disadvantage is, of course, the wear and tear on your car. Sometimes when they're telling you to go to a location, again, like I have to go somewhere at 5:30 in the morning, they're telling you go to this address, be there at 5:30, but you can arrive at 5 and there's nobody there, nobody has direction of where you need to go. You're sent there to test 10 people, but you get there and it's maybe 30, or it may only be 5. It can just always be a mix up. And then you're just out here in the middle of nowhere. You don't know anybody. That's a disadvantage as well. Another disadvantage is you can break down on your way to go do a drug screening. And then it's like, what do I do? But in that case, I do have local partners as well as employees that I could send out in case I can't make it. But the advantages of mobile is I can tell employers, you don't have to worry about losing a lot of production time with this employee because they're going to take a drug test. This employee doesn't have to worry about losing their hours because everybody wants to make their 40 or more. I can just come right here to you. So it's a lot of advantages more than disadvantages to mobile.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
This is Miles Woodard, and he asked, have you ever had to deal with someone claiming you messed up their results? And if you did, how did you deal with it?
It's amazing that he asked that. Thank you for that question, because actually on Saturday we went, I had a new contract with a transportation company. She asked me to come out on Saturday to perform 10 random drug screenings at 9 a.m. One of the drivers' results came back with methadone, THC, and ETG. ETG is alcohol. And
That's a heck of a mix.
yeah, and he didn't lead to we did anything wrong. He just was concerned as to how this had happened when he knows he doesn't take any drugs. So we're not here to say, oh, yes, you're guilty. We're only here to collect. And when the results read something that you don't agree with, we have the opportunity to send it off to the lab. And once the lab looks at it, they'll reach out and they'll say, are you on any prescription drugs? Can you send us a picture of your prescriptions, XYZ? And that is how we say, okay, they're approved. So come to find out, he was taking a lot of medication that triggered THC as well as methadone. And so, besides that, I never really had anybody to say that we got their test wrong or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's usually hard to argue with science. Shania Charleston, and she asked, how long did it take your business to get started from the time you quit the hotel?
So I left the hotel in March of 2020. I got my Secretary of State registration in August. And I believe my first contract was the end of August. So I would say from March to August is about how long. Wow. One thing about this industry is employers need it. They need drug and alcohol testing, because if they don't have that policy implemented in their company and someone gets hurt, you know where that's going, workman's comp. So we don't really have to struggle much in the marketing efforts trying to prove what we can do. You already know what we do. It's just about the pricing and the service. So as long as we can, put that pricing in there with the market, or like you stated, we may be a little higher, I admit, but we look at our reviews, okay? And our reviews are saying, you get right in, you get right out. They have accurate results. It's a peaceful environment, great customer service. They respect you. And that's what we want to continue to hear.
Absolutely. Because I always say that you need the customers more than the customers need you. And if you can offer something else, that is such a huge advantage as an entrepreneur. All right, last one. This is Octavia Johnson, and she asked, do you plan on getting any other certifications or services for your business?
Actually, I just was certified to be an eye examiner for little kids. That was another thing. I was on the internet one day, and I believe I paid $125, and it was through the Georgia Blindness. I believe it was the Georgia Blindness Academy, I believe. And you get certified. So if all else fails and I decided that I didn't want to be an entrepreneur anymore, I can go work for a lab doing drug screenings, or I can go work for an eye doctor and do eye exams. So a lot of people ask me, have I ever thought about going into phlebotomy? Does that go hand in hand with drug testing? It can, but not really, because the time I've been in business, I've only had one client to say, would you be able to also do drug screens for us? And I was like, well, sure. And then I'll get a phlebotomist to take care of it, but I'm not certified and I don't really have any plans on it. I want to, what I'm trying to get into now, Greg, is I'm trying to have my staff take care of the drug screens now in the fields, and I want to work more on creating drug and alcohol policies for companies.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us and getting this rescheduled because it's such a cool concept. But before we go, you're a young Black business owner right down the road in Georgia, and just an unbelievable story of how you started. I mean, that's one of those ones you got to hear it to believe it. But even if these kids, obviously, everybody can't own a drug testing company. Why does entrepreneurship need them? Why do we need more young Black business owners in the South?
To be honest, I would say because we can do so much more. We can create so much more. And it's about creating opportunities for up and coming young people. A lot of companies are set in their ways of how they want things done, and they don't want to see you grow. So if we get more entrepreneurs in, we can put out more entrepreneurs, is the way I look at it. And I tell you, it's challenging, but it is so worth it. Awesome. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
Man, that's one of the most inspiring guests we've had all year. Love to hear it. That's awesome. Now tell us where to find your company online if anybody needs any drug testing.
All right. So I'm at www.majorresultstesting.org. You can also look up my Facebook page, Major Results Drug and Alcohol Testing. And I'm also on TikTok, but my name on there is the 478 Drug Testing Lady. I don't know why I said that because I'm all over, but so that's how you can find me. And congratulations to you all and on your graduations. And if you're ever looking to be certified as a collector, please reach out to me and I will get you good to go. It only takes 4 hours and you will be able to go wherever you want to go in the nation to be able to do drug screenings.
That's incredible. Well, again, Bennie Plummer, founder and owner of Major Results Drug Testing there in Macon, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Greg. Have a great one.
I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Okay.